cooking fuel adoption rate in Bangladesh ranks the lowest across South Asia, and it is also considerably lower than the average adoption rate in lower middle income countries from rest of the world. Notably, around 70% of the population in Bangladesh do not have access to clean cooking fuels. Moreover, there is a large urban-rural divide in terms of accessibility. Precisely, 1 out of 10 people living in rural areas do not have access to clean cooking fuels, whereas in urban areas, the clean cooking fuel adoption rate is around 60%, which is still quite low. Despite such dismal performances, liquefied petroleum gas LPG emerges as the light at the end of the tunnel for Bangladesh. Notably, between 2009 and 2025, LPG market in Bangladesh has expanded by more than 25 folds. In this regard, it's worth mentioning that this expansion took place without much support from the government. Unlike the cases of our neighboring countries such as Bhutan and India, where LPG subsidies from the government have played a large role in facilitating its adoption. Nevertheless, the expansion trajectory of LPG in Bangladesh indicates that if LPG sector can be developed, it can help Bangladesh to reverse its low clean cooking fuel adoption scenarios. However, for this to happen, several consolidated efforts must be taken, considering both supply and demand side channels. Firstly, from supply side, it is important to focus on improving LPG supply chains so that ample availability of LPG can be ensured, and thereby the consumers would be motivated to shy away from using unclean cooking fuels and rather adopt LPG as a cleaner source of cooking. This supply-oriented mechanism is also acknowledged in the literature, where we find that setting up of LPG enterprises near Rohingya camps has significantly improved supply chains and have created a large market for LPG in those areas. So this is an example of demand being driven or created by supply. Similarly, HIES 2022 data shows that LPG penetration has mostly occurred in areas or regions which have natural gas availability, such as Dhaka, Chittagong, and Sylhet. So this is once again showing that availability is a driving force behind LPG adoption from the supply end. Now turning to the demand side, our analysis finds that female-headed households are more likely to adopt LPG as a clean cooking fuel source. This is indicative of a gendered aspect driving the LPG adoption in Bangladesh. Moreover, we also find that compared to farm households, the likelihood of adopting LPG in non-farm households is much, much higher. So this particular finding is indicative of an income effect driving the LPG adoption propensities in Bangladesh. This is quite interesting because HIES data has confirmed that pure farm households are gradually engaging in non-farm activities, whereby these households are becoming non-farm households. Therefore, linking this with the LPG adoption propensities in non-farm households, this is an interesting finding in the context of Bangladesh's future clean cooking fuel adoption situations. Furthermore, our analysis finds that households with access to foreign remittance are also more likely to adopt LPG, which is also an indication of an income effect driving the LPG adoption decisions in Bangladesh. Therefore, for future policymaking purposes, these supply and demand side factors should be taken into consideration when designing LPG pathways that can enable Bangladesh to undergo full-blown clean cooking fuel transition.